Alright guys, today we're going to talk about percents, decimals, and fractions. More focus on percents because we have talked about decimals and fractions previously. However, we're going to talk about how to get decimals and fractions into percents. Alright. So let's start with definition. A percent, there are two definitions we're going to talk about. Percent in Latin is per cento, which means per 100. Or for every 100. Second definition is a ratio, which you know, that compares a number to 100. Essentially, they're the same meaning. One just is fancy and says percento, and the other is fancy and uses ratio. All right. In order to change fractions to decimals to percents, we've done these types of problems already. So let's write it down. To change a fraction to a decimal to a percent. The first way is if you can easily get the denominator to 100 by multiplying, then get it to 100. And then say what percentage it is, because it's always out of 100. But if you can't easily get the denominator to 100, then you must divide top dog in the house. Meaning the first number always goes in the house. So if we have 3/8, I want to know what 3/8 is as a percent. So I start with the fraction. 8 does not easily get to 100. So I'm going to do the second one, top dog in the house, which means the 3 goes into the house, the 8 goes on the outside. 8 does not go into 3, so I have to use a decimal. 8 does go into 30 3 times, which gives us 24. With 6 left over. Because I have a decimal here already, I can add a 0 at the remainder. 8 goes into 67 times, which gives me 56, and 4 left over. I already have that decimal up there, so I can add a 0 to my remainder. 8 goes into 40 5 times, and there's nothing left over. So 3/8 as a decimal is 375 thousandths. So written as a larger fraction, it's 375 over 1,000. I need to get that 1,000 to 100. In order to get that 1,000 into 100, we have to divide by a power of 10. 1,000 divided by 10 gets rid of 1 0. 10 into 375 looks like this. 10 goes into 30 3 times. 10 goes into 75 7 times. 10 does not go into 5. There's nothing to bring down. So I have to put a decimal and add a 0. 10 goes into 55. So now I have 37.5 out of 100, which is a proper percentage because it's per 100. So it's 37.5%. Oop, oop, why is my screen doing that? I don't know. Stop doing that. Stop. Stop. I don't know why my screen's doing that, but it freaked me out. Stop it. Sorry. I don't know what's wrong. Hopefully it doesn't shut down in the middle of my thing. Let me fix this back thing and see if... No, that's not helping. I don't know what's going on. Alright, I'm going to continue and hope that it stops. Okay, so that would be 37.5. If I have one that is more than 100, so let's say I have a fraction that is, or more than 1 actually. Stop doing that. If I have 2 and 3/5, I know that the 2 is a whole number and it goes before the decimal. And then 3/5, I can easily get that to 10 to make a decimal. So this would be times 2 times 2. It gives me 6/10, which is this decimal place. So this says 2 and 6/10. 2 and 3/5 is the same as 2 and 6/10. Two and 6/10. I want to get this now to the hundredths place. I want to get this decimal into my hundreds place. So I multiply by a power of 10, which gives me 260 over 100, which is 260%. Right now it's only in the tenths place. I want hundredths. More than 100. Wow, this is really going to cause someone to have a seizure. Please stop. To get a percent to a decimal, all you have to do is divide by 100. So let's say I have 43%. All I have to do is 43 over 100, which cannot be simplified. If I had 56%, that would be 56 over 100, and that can be simplified by dividing by 2, which is 28 over 50, which can be simplified again, which is 14 over 25. That cannot be simplified. Another way to turn a fraction into a percent is multiplying by 100. All you have to do is multiply by 100 over 1 and simplify. So let's try 4 over 7 times 100 over 1 gives us 400 over 7. Then what I do is top dog in the house. 7 into 400. 7 doesn't go into 4, but it goes into 40. 5 times. It goes with the remainder of 50. 7 goes into 57 times with 1 left over. 57 and 1/7%. I could turn that 1/7 into a decimal as well. Or I could just leave it as a fraction. If I turn a decimal into a percent, another way is to multiply it by 100. So for example, I'm going to have 0.07, which is 7/100, multiplied by 100 means I move this decimal over twice, or I can do the actual work. Which is 7.00, which is the same as 7%. Let's do this one. Turn 33 1/3% into a fraction. This is a percent. I want to turn it into a fraction. So the first thing I need to do is turn the mixed number into an improper fraction. So 33 1/3%, or 33 1/3 as an improper fraction is 33 times 3 plus 1, which is actually 100 over 3. Now that it is an improper fraction, I divide by 100 over 1. Divide straight across. Hundred divided by 100 is 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3. I get 1/3, which is fraction form of this. decimal form, 1/3 is 0.33 that repeats itself. And that's what happens if I divide top dog in the house here, 3 divided by 1. So 33 1/3% is 0.33. So think about, oops, you couldn't even see that, sorry. Think about your powers of 10 to help you with these problems as well. So I'm going to give you one fraction I want you to turn into a percent, and we'll discuss it tomorrow when you come in. All right, here it is. Do this. Turn into a percent. 2/9 is what percent? I just gave you a couple different ways to solve this. And I'm really sorry about the screen. I don't know what's happening, but I'm going to try and fix it for next time. All right, see you tomorrow.